Hi, everyone. Welcome to the September GP Office Hours webinar. I am Michael Golden, and we are excited to have the opportunity to show you the power behind Solver. Our webinar today is going to be led by Mark Bennett and Rose Shaw. And as we go through the webinar, you are welcome to ask questions in the chat, and we will also provide time at the end for questions and answers. Solver is an all-inclusive financial reporting, planning, and analysis suite for Dynamic GP that has been and Solver has been a partner of ours for nearly 20 years. And now I'll turn it over to Jonathan Lewis.
Great. Thank you, Margaret. And good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us on this webinar and on the GP Office Hours session. Today is called Future-Proof Your Organization with Advanced Financial Insight for Dynamics GP. So thank you to the entire LBMC team for including us on this webinar and for being part of the extended LBMC family. You've welcomed us. For those that may not know, LBMC has been a Solver reseller partner for over 15 years. And we really enjoy working with all of you at LBMC. So my name is Mark Bennett. I'm a partner development manager at Solver. I've been here 3.5 years. I came to Solver after 18 years at Microsoft, part of the Dynamics Global Practices there. And prior to that, I was with a name you might remember, FRX Software. It was an application that perhaps you may have used or might still be using. And also joining us today is Rose Shaw, who's Solver's solutions engineering lead. And Rose and the rest of her team, they turn the art of the possible into reality. And she does that by helping our clients realize digital transformation across the organization with Solver's xFP&A solution. And she's an expert in Solver, has the amazing ability to deeply understand a client's most pressing business objectives. Then using all those years of experience, she aligns that to aspects of the Solver suite and a solution to solve those objectives. So Rose will be giving us a live demo of Solver today. So here's a quick look at our agenda. I'll tell you a bit about Solver. Then we'll take a look at what we're hearing from other organizations who are currently using GP and their needs around an FP&A solution. And then that journey, what it looks like to move next to what might look like to transform your Office of Finance in the future to Business Central or Intacct. And we'll look at how Solver works with GP and other ERPs. But we'll spend the majority of the webinar live in Solver, where Rose will demo the Solver suite, including reporting, consolidations, budgeting, and planning, and we'll have some time for Q&A. So just to give you some more screen real estate, I'll shut our cameras off so we can see the slides. But we're going to start, though, with a poll question.
All right, I'll get us started here.
Thank you.
Can you see that?
It's up, yeah. So everyone, we love your feedback here as we think about the journey that you're on, and quite frankly, many of our partners even are on as well. Take a look at the time frame.
All right, we'll leave it up for about 10 more seconds.
Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. And we'll share the results.
Yeah, and you know what? This is what I hear. That last card, no, I'm not sure yet. I've been at a number of conferences, Great Plains conferences over the last few months. Some of them, Directions. We've got Summit coming up, and this is kind of what we're hearing as well. But definitely people feel like they need to do something within the next year or so. But it's a great platform, GP stable. But there's other reasons why you might be thinking about moving. Maybe it's some of the reporting that's inadequate for you. Things like FRX and MR aren't quite working anymore. So we'll talk a bit about that today. I just want to confirm with my team, you're able to see the slides still okay?
Yep, Mark, you look good.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so just wanted to tell everyone a little bit about who we are. We are established expertise in Dynamics GP. We have a commitment. We were born and evolved with Dynamics GP, by the way. That was one of our first integrations. We've been around for over 25 years. We have 3,000 plus customers globally, a 97% retention rate. We have a detailed understanding of GP users' needs. Many of us are use GP, have used GP in the past. We've used some of the add-on products as well. We know your pain points, and we have a commitment to enhancing GP functionality. Because for those of you that maybe use Management Reporter, MR, or FRX, we know those products are being sunsetted in a way. And you might actually find that in some cases, versions of FRX just won't work anymore when you go to upgrade Excel, for example. So we get that. We understand that's happening, but you're not necessarily ready to migrate away from GP. So you don't have to yet. You can start your modernization journey with Solver. And then to my last point here on the slide, we can support you with a seamless transition when you do decide to move to BC or to Intacct or to something else. Your xFP&A environment will already be in place and we'll be able to help with that transition. You'll already be modernized. So really, that's what Solver is. We are xFP&A. xFP&A stands for Extended Financial Planning and Analysis. So you may have heard of FP&A, Financial Planning and Analysis, but with Solver, X marks the spot, shall we say. We are more than just financial planning and analysis for the Office of Finance. That X actually stands for any department within your organization. We go beyond the Office of Finance to your operation teams, your marketing teams, your sales teams, anywhere where you want to provide them with reporting and analysis, planning, consolidation. And we do know that across departments, everyone needs to participate, especially in reporting and analysis and planning. So to expand upon that, we want to take you from basic reporting that you had in MR and FRX and show you how Solver seamlessly integrates to Dynamics GP and unlocks a collection of ready-to-use reporting and planning templates. To achieve advanced reporting, you can consolidate financial, operational data from your ERP with key data sources to generate fast, easy, and accurate insights that drive action and results. And then driver-based planning. Create financial plans and budget based on the key operational drivers and have everyone working from one version of the truth, one source. And then flexible forecasting. Forecast by any period dimensions, including day, week, month, year, rolling, etc. And then finally, data-driven decision-making. We know that data is the new gold, so you can gain powerful insights with quick access to data that helps you accelerate better decisions. So here's that timeline. You showed us where some of you are in your journey. If you look at current state, you got FRX, MR, you've got some other basic reporting. Some of you might be multi-company environment. Maybe you're going through acquisitions, and some of those acquisitions involve other ERPs that aren't GP. There's something else. Well, we can show you how we can bring all that together because we have connectors for just about every ERP out there. And you still had planning, reporting, and analysis needs. So when you look at your timeline now in the center, you want to continue to leverage perhaps GP as your ERP, as I saw there. Many of you don't know yet when you're going to leave. As we mentioned, it's a great stable platform. But yet, how do you modernize the insights and gain cross-department and prepare for the migration? And that's really xFP&A for planning, reporting, and analysis. So then when you are going to the third column in the future state of cloud, you can expedite that migration to BC or Intacct or anything else. There's ease of migration when you've already got Solver. And the reason is we can help you with keeping some of that legacy data in GP. And I'll get to that in a moment in more detail. But when you think about when you do migrate, one of the things you're probably worried about is what am I going to do with all the history I've got? There's gold in that history. There's insights, especially when I plug them into dashboards and I start to look at trends, not just last year, but the last 5 years or other impactful events that impacted your business over the history. You don't want to lose any of that. So we're going to show you how you can keep some of that as well. So high level view, here's the architecture of Solver. Basically, here's your ERP. I just put ERP because it could be GP right now. You might have another ERP that you can have that you operate another subsidiary with. We can handle all of that. You might have a CRM system. We can pull that in as well. An HR system, information about all your payroll and things like that. You might have a marketing system that's holding key insights on marketing events and campaigns that you're doing and the insights you're getting from them. And they may not be connected to your CRM side. So we can bring all that together. And then, of course, like everyone, we probably have some Excel spreadsheets or CSV data files out there. We can pull that in. And down here at the bottom, I included that you get with Solver SQL Server APIs. So we can basically connect to anything, web APIs. You can get data from web sources. So all of that is brought together into a cloud environment, runs on Microsoft Azure, as you can see, and it's a single version of the truth. It's a data warehouse or a data mart. You may already have a data warehouse, but think of us as a data mart or a data warehouse within that one. It's holding the key information from these types of reporting scenarios. Source systems where it makes sense to join them together to get insights or let them report independently as well. And from there, our executive managers, other stakeholders, they all interact with that data for planning, as you can see both ways. They'll be submitting their budgets, and then we'll be reporting on those, reporting on other areas of the business, doing consolidations, including multi-currency, eliminations, And then deep analysis. This is where you start using things like dashboards and graphical analysis of your data. And you'll find that when you start doing that, you get answers to questions you never even had because you're seeing your data combined together to give you deep insight. So that's a look at the architecture. And just before we get into the demo, I wanted to concentrate a bit on a topic that I mentioned earlier that's very important to GP users, and that is how do I keep track of when I do migrate, how do I keep my legacy data and access to that for reporting and historical purposes? And this is really what the migration mapper is. It's an accelerator solution that we have as part of Solver that allows you to retain all your historical ERP transactional data and seamlessly integrate it into your reporting, the planning side of things, and analysis. So when you're migrating to an ERP, you'll have all that data still available to you. Or you could quite frankly just be overhauling your chart of accounts. Maybe you're not migrating quite yet, but you want to overhaul your chart to be prepared for that BC migration. But when you do eventually migrate to BC or Intacct, you'll probably take advantage of that new system and you'll retool your chart of accounts. And again, you don't want to lose access to that historical information. There's some expensive solutions out there that let you keep it alive, but we have a much cheaper way to do it where it's all within Solver, your reporting environment. So it's not yet another system you have to connect to. So here's some of those challenges. I'll sum them up. When migrating to a new ERP, it's typical to bring over just a limited beginning balances, right? Instead of all your history. And that means you only have limited or no ability to drill down and analyze activity in the new ERP. Also, as a solution, most customers will either retain licenses in the historical ERP for the users to keep access to it, but that's very disjointed. Now you got to Alt Tab over to GP, look up an old report, export it to Excel, and then bring it into something else. We can have all of that for you with access in the data warehouse, all within Solver, so that when you create a report and it's looking at current balances, those could be coming from Intacct or BC. And when it's comparing last year, that's coming from GP because we've got all that data already in the warehouse. And finally, here's a great challenge that we solve with solvers. That's really that validation and reconciliation. So one of the key reasons for this is that most companies make changes to the chart, as I mentioned. And so you need to validate between the two systems. So we have a mapper that allows you to take the old chart from GP and make it look like BC or Intacct so that everything seems consolidated and is one system. So Solver can address all these challenges. And this is a solver. It's everything. This is an all-inclusive suite. You get all of this with Solver. It's a SaaS, software as a service product that runs, as I mentioned, on Microsoft Cloud. It's nothing you install locally other than a plugin for Excel. So that is your design experience, which Rose will show in a moment. It's Excel. We all love and know Excel. Your formulas still work. Everything you know about it still works. But with that add-in, it's connecting to Solver's data warehouse. And Excel suddenly has become much more powerful because you have access to all these kind of features, as well as on-demand training, ready-to-use templates, and a bunch of pre-built connectors. So before we get into a demo of that, let's do one more poll question if we could. So if we could launch that poll. Thanks, Nicole.
Go.
So let us know what you'd like to talk to LBMC about. Is it Solver? Maybe you'd like to do a business process review. This is a very good offering that they have to kind of look at where you're at. Maybe you're ready to upgrade your version of Dynamics, or you want to attend the LBMC customer dinner at Community Summit. That's going to be a great event. We will see you there as well. Or I'm shy. I don't want to talk right now. That's okay. You know who to reach out to. Your LBMC family is there for you.
All right, we'll give everybody just a few more seconds here. All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rose Shaw, who's going to give us a live demo of Solver. And we'll have some time at the end for Q&A, but I'll be watching the Q&A window. So feel free to, if you don't want to wait, just pop them in the QA. I can probably answer them while Rose is doing the demo. So over to you, Rose.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. We'll dive right into the Solver product. We are going to cover some of the key areas that Mark has spoken about and discussed today from both the reporting side of things as well as the budgeting and forecasting side of things within planning. So, Mark, I think you might have to just stop sharing, and then I'm
Will
going to
do.
go
Okay.
ahead and
I'm
share.
sorry. Yep. There we go.
There we go. Perfect. All right. So we should be able to see Solver's homepage here pulled up in front of you. We are a cloud-based solution. So in order to log into a system like Solver, it will just be a URL. You're going to have your browser with your internet connection and your credentials. Once you're in the portal, on the left-hand side here, you're going to notice the navigation pane. And this is broken out into the two major components that we're going to talk about today. So, of course, we've got the reporting side, like Mark mentioned, for all of your financial reporting, operational type reporting, variance analysis. And then we've got our planning here for budgeting, forecasting, workflow type scenarios. So before we dive right into those, just a quick overview of that data warehouse and the architecture piece that Mark mentioned. So here is what that would look like to be able to pull in all of your information from GP, as well as those various different data sources that we mentioned. So you'll see these little blue boxes here. We call them the different modules, but these are essentially just the different data sources that I'm pulling here into my demo model today. So for starters, we're always going to connect to your GL information. And in that case, that's going to come in from GP today. We'll talk a little bit about what that migration mapper scenario needs to look like once you do move into a new ERP. Aside from the GL information, if you are looking to pull in other information and other sources, some of the more popular ones are around subledgers like AP/AR. We've got capital or fixed assets that people would usually pull in for fixed assets planning. We've got things like payroll for payroll budgeting, your project revenue, sales type information, any analytics that you'd like to bring in. So really anything that you decide you want to analyze and interpret within Solver, you bring that directly here into the data warehouse. And once we bring all this information in here, these are your dimensions, these are your data. So you're going to have the capability to seamlessly report on this, to seamlessly budget on these modules, these dimensions, your data that you have in here, which we'll take a look at here in a second. But I just wanted to show you this screen so you understand how we are pulling in the data and how the different data sources get combined together within the Solver portal. All right, so now that we've taken a look at how the data is coming in, we're going to dive right into the reporting section. And I'm going to click under this report template section in here. This is where you're going to house all of the reports that you're going to build within Solver. We've already mentioned that the report designer in Solver is pure native Excel, so you're not learning any proprietary tools or solutions in order to build any of these reports. It's the regular Excel functionality that you're used to today that you're going to be using. So it should be very seamless, very intuitive in order for you to build any reports within the tool. We're going to start off with our most popular variance analysis P&L. And I'm going to go ahead and quickly just show you a couple Solver capabilities as part of this report. So what you can see here in front of you is a variance P&L report. You've got your actuals for multiple different years and versions, as well as the budget information that we've worked to enter within Solver. You can see your variance columns and your calculations. Everything is being used, created using Excel, including all of the formulas and the functionality that you see here. If I were to double click into any of these cells, you're going to notice regular Excel formulas being used. The charting and graphing capabilities that you see here at the top are also Excel based. We've also got our parameters here. And what these are essentially filters that you can apply to any particular report or template within Solver to review the data. As an example, I'm currently running this report for my US location for September 2021 for all my departments. If I were to click into this magnifying glass here, I can now pick and choose the location or the entity that I want to run this report for. So if I want to run this for Canada or for my EMEA location within Europe or just a range of my entities, I can then select what I want here, rerun the report, and that gives me the data for that particular area of my business that I have chosen. So this here gives you some great flexibility into being able to pick and choose the different areas of the business that you want to run the report for all in one, as well as limit access to different users as well. So each user that logs into Solver will have their own security, functionality, feature, and data access within the tool. And the parameters here can be limited to exactly what each user is allowed to see. So when you select your parameters and you select your members from in there, each user will only have access to what they can pick and choose when they are trying to run the report. There is no limitation of the number of parameters you can display as part of the report. So for some of you, if you have more dimensions other than just these three that you're looking to pull in, you can absolutely go ahead and build those as part of your reports and templates. And the last feature we are going to talk about here is the capability for you to be able to drill down into your transactions coming in from GP. So when I right click into a number as part of this report and I go into GL detail, I will be able to see the transactions that are coming in from GP directly within Solver. Again, this gives you that flexibility to go and see all of your granularity and all of the details that you're pulling in for those specific numbers that you're bringing into as part of the report without having to log back into your ERP or without having to have a license into that. So everything is right here centralized for you directly within Solver. Aside from the GL drill down, you can also enable drill down capabilities to other data sources that you might be pulling in. So if I go back here, you will see that for my revenue area, I can drill into my AR detail. If I were to come in here and right click for my cost of goods sold, you can see that I can drill into my AP detail. And when I do click into that, I do get information at the vendor level and at the customer level for the AR detail, giving me some more flexibility to be able to drill into the details that may not necessarily be a part of my GL by default. So again, here you get some greater capabilities. As long as we're pulling that information into the data warehouse, you're able to drill down into that detail. We do have some customers today that also drill down into actual files or PDFs or invoices or images. So there is that capability as well. I know it's a really popular question and a big need for some specific industries. So keep that in mind that you can go down to that level of granularity as well. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and show you one other quick report here that addresses some consolidation like scenarios. So if you are a multi-company or a multi-entity organization, Solver offers you the capability to do your consolidations directly within Solver. Mark briefly mentioned that if you do switch ERPs and move into something like Business Central or Sage Intacct, you will have that consolidation capability directly in the ERP that you can make use of. However, there are Solver capabilities to help you with that as well. Once you've set up your consolidation process in here with your eliminations and your allocations, which is part of our data warehouse that we offer, you're also able to run in multiple different consolidated type reports within Solver. And let's look at a quick example here for our balance sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and click into this balance sheet here, which is going to give me a consolidated view for all of my different entities that I'm pulling in. Like you can see here, I've selected certain parameters to run this balance sheet specifically for my different locations or entities. And I also have my eliminations column in here, which categorizes any eliminations that you do directly within Solver so that you can report on those and you can see those directly within your financials. Once you've isolated that out, you can also look at your consolidated view here. And this is a little bit different in terms of the parameters to what we saw earlier, where in the previous report, we saw that we had all of our locations as a flat list with our P&L. But with this balance sheet, you can see that I have created multiple different tree structures as part of this report. This is something, again, you can do within the Solver data warehouse for you to be able to report on different levels of your locations or your entities within the organization. So I've currently selected the consolidated roll-up, which is why I can see all of my entities listed out here with my eliminations. But I can also isolate just my Western Hemisphere and run this report, which includes my US and Canada offices. So now this report will auto-consolidate to just select the total of the Western Hemisphere, showing me my US and Canada operations, my eliminations for those specific entities, as well as my consolidated column out there. So this is just showing you a quick view of how you can report on some of those consolidated entities with the multiple location scenario. All right, so with this, let's dive into some of our budgeting and forecasting templates. Now that we've set up some of our financials, we have some of the P&Ls listed out the way we want, our balance sheets and our cash flows listed out the way we want. Let's go ahead and start our budgeting process in Solver. So I'm going to go into the input template section, and here is where we are going to house all of the budget and the forecasting templates that you're going to build as part of the Solver solution. Now, what you see here in front of me are different components of my budget that I've listed out into different forms or templates within the solution. Solver offers you the capability to be able to budget and forecast both at the GL level, so just keeping it a little high level, or going down as deep and as granular as you want for your budgeting and forecasting process. We're going to look at a template and a scenario for both of those scenarios. So I'm going to start off with a more detailed budget scenario. I'm going to click into this payroll or personnel budget, which for the most part is a pretty big expense for most businesses. And what you can see here are the details of every employee that we've pulled in from a payroll solution. So regardless of the payroll system that you are using today, you can bring that level of detail at the employee, as well as a list of attributes that you see here for the different employees that we want to bring in from our solutions. On the right-hand side here, you can see it's starting to calculate things like salaries, compensation. We've got our different taxes laid out. We've got our 401k benefits as and when I keep scrolling. This is really what we are using in order to calculate our different taxes and our different salary amounts for our existing as well as our new employees that we're going to budget. So you're going to notice these rates and these drivers that we've already set up as part of the template within Solver. Anything here in yellow are adjustment or data entry cells. So I can come in here and I can budget for a new employee in my case. And I'm going to do this for a full-time employee. And you're going to notice that this then puts in a budgeted placeholder for that employee, salary calculation starting in March based on the hire date. And once I've completed the budgets I want to do for my specific parameters, because I'm doing this specifically now for my sales and marketing department for my US entity, I can go ahead and commit and save all the budget data that I'm doing as part of Solver's budgeting solution. Once this data is saved, it commits directly into the data warehouse that we saw on the first page there. And this essentially gives us real-time access to our budgets directly into our reports. In fact, at the bottom of this template here, I can look at the GL accounts that it is hitting so that I know what I need to expect as part of my P&L for my budget columns in terms of the payroll and the salaries that I'm trying to budget for. I can now also, as a user, if I have access to this information, select my different departments from here and use the same form to be able to budget for different areas of my business and save that budget information and save those new employees that I'm budgeting for directly within the same form. So this gives you a good overview of how detailed and granular you can go with areas of your budget. There's one last thing I'm going to mention here before I move to a little bit more of a higher level budget process is you are able to create as many different versions and scenarios within the Solver tool. Now, for a budget process, we typically see, just a few scenarios being created, maybe one, maybe to two, maybe maximum of three scenarios, because you usually have your annual budget that's set, and then that usually doesn't change. So essentially what you would need these different scenarios and versions for is for your forecasting process. So once you've completed your budgets, you can use Solver for any ongoing forecasting, reforecasting, what if scenario analysis, as and when you see those actuals flowing through and compare them to your actuals as well as the budgets that you've already set at the beginning of your budget season. So the different versions and the scenario controls give you the capability to be able to save against those different versions and scenarios so that you can use those within comparisons as part of your different reports and your different board packages that you might need to set up as well. All right, so with that, let us go ahead and look at a little bit more of a GL high level budget scenario. And when I click into this other expense view, this here just outlines my SG&A type expenses that I want to be able to budget for. And like you can see, this is just at the account level that it gives me access for each month of 2023 is what I have here. If I were to scroll to the right of this template, you can see that I have some comparative information as part of this budget template to help me or any of my budget owners budget a little bit more accurately. So anything that you think would help you in order to budget within Solver, you can include as part of your budget and forecast templates, whether they are multiple different years, multiple different versions, multiple different scenarios that you might want to include. You've got that flexibility and capability to be able to do that. You can also continue to drill down into that transaction level detail directly from a budget form here because we are including that comparative information as part of this. You can see that I've got information pre-populated as part of my budget process, which most people use as a starting point, maybe a prior year budget or a prior year forecast version. And then you can go ahead and tweak this budget as you like for your next year's. You can also start this as a blank template. So if you just want to be able to budget directly within here, you can do that as well. You're going to notice that some cells as part of this template are blank, which means that they don't have the red triangle as part of it, and some cells do. So what's the key difference here? The cells with the red triangle denote that there is some more detail associated with this number as part of the budget process. So when I click directly into this, you are going to notice that it contains line item details. It gives you that little note there, which I can click in this prompt here at the bottom. And I can now see that detailed breakdown for that particular number that has been entered. So I can see that there is this granularity by vendor that has been entered here, and that number is rolling up to that monthly total here for January in my case. But I can comment on that specific detail. I can then further go ahead and use this template for any spreading or adjustments that I need to make as part of my budget. So this is a really, really flexible tool for all budget users to be able to enter in their budgets accurately and efficiently within Solver. Of course, this is done for specific parameters like we've seen in the past with all of our reports and templates. And of course, you can commit and save all of this data as you are completing your budgets directly within Solver. So this should give you a good view of how you can set up both granular level budgeting as well as a little higher GL top level type budgeting. We're going to look at two quick forecast templates, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our workflow in terms of how we can distribute and automate these templates out to our different budget users. So the first forecast template that we're going to look at here is a rolling forecast, which is really popular for those who are doing their budgets and forecasts manually in Excel today. This is just a snippet of data, but you're going to notice that I've pulled in my actuals here until September, which is the last period that I've selected as part of my parameters, and I've got my forecasts for the remainder of the year. If I go ahead and change this value, let's say my month of October is now closed and I want to see my actuals, I want to continue to reforecast for November and December. I change that last actual period and rerun this report. This then gives me my actuals that auto-populates here for October, and I can continue to forecast here for the remainder of the month within different versions, of course, giving me that capability to continue to save any changes that I'm making. So I can make a change here, I can save this information, and I can select, maybe this is going to be my worst forecast. So I select this against a different version. It preserves my original $600 against my original forecast, and I now have got a worse forecast against which I'm saving this, giving me that capability to analyze both scenarios here. All right, and then the last forecast template that we are going to look at here is a little bit different than everything that we've seen so far, but a very important concept nonetheless within the budgeting and planning process is to be able to budget or forecast using a specific driver. So this form that I have here is just a straightforward P&L breakback. I'm using net income as my driver here, but in your case and within your organization, you can use as many drivers as you like, and the drivers could really be anything that you want to base your budgets or forecast off of. So the idea here is that I've got my actuals pulled in until March, which is probably what I've selected as part of my parameters. And I want to automate my forecast here for the remainder of the year for my entire P&L at the GL level. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in a desired net income that I want to reach. And I can now see what that forecast would look like for my entire year, auto-populated by Solver. The algorithm this template is using in the back is prior year historical, as well as the actuals that we're pulling in so far. So it is up to you what you'd like to include as your algorithm to be able to calculate and automate your forecasts. We do have people using seasonality. We've got clients using percent of sales, percent of revenues, again, completely customizable and flexible in terms of what you would like to see. You can then adjust this data manually as well. So once the forecast has completely automated within your solution, you can then go ahead and start manipulating that data if you know that you need to change something based on certain factors. So if I know that my product revenue is going to go up by a 2% margin, I'm going to go ahead and make that adjustment and press enter. You're going to notice it changes those values, not just for product revenue, but also for my other accounts that are tied to it. Because when I come here and scroll to the bottom of this list, my desired net income is still 100,000, keeping in mind that that driver has not changed and that's still the outcome that we're looking to receive and get. So the template will auto adjust based on the adjustments that you are making. And these adjustments can be done globally as well. I just used an account here, but you can go ahead and adjust this globally for certain departments or certain account groupings. So you have that option there to be very flexible. All right, with that being said, you're going to say, Rose, you're showing us some great templates here, but how do we get our users to enter in the budgets and forecasts? So that takes place through our automated workflow process. And the way it would work is I'm going to open a workflow here just to show you what that experience looks like. It is very straightforward. You will set up your templates that you've designed as part of Solver, attach them to this workflow right here at the bottom, and you're going to select the different users that you want to send these different templates out to. You can also assign certain reviewer and approval workflow processes. So if it needs to go through certain approvers before it gets committed to the budget, you can set those up as part of the workflow as well. Once this workflow is set up, Solver will send out a notification to those users who need to go into Solver and complete their budget. They would then get an email notification as well as a Solver notification. Once they click into the link within the email, it takes them directly into their assignments within Solver where they can go ahead and complete their budgets, save the data, and then submit that for approval as part of the workflow. Depending on the approvals that you set up here, it might go through 2 or 3 levels of approval. And once those are approved, they then get committed to the budgets that have been entered by the budget users. If they get rejected, by default, it goes back to the budget owner to go ahead and make any changes. Everything that you do as part of the workflow gets tracked within the activity log as part of the workflow, and it gives you an audit trail of all the comments, notes, changes, memos that have been set up so that you don't have to manually email these things back and forth and your notes getting lost within your emails, within translation. Everything is tracked as part of the workflow. I can also look at the status of the workflow to see if someone started working on a template, if they're in progress, if anything has been completed. So this gives me great visibility into how my workflow is flowing, who is on time to complete their budgets, and of course, gives the other users some more accountability to be able to go in and enter in budgets in a timely manner. All right, so now that we've taken a look at a few different reports, we've taken a look at some budget templates and the workflow process of distributing those templates out. The last thing we're going to talk about is, this is great. We've got all of our reports set up, but I want to now send out some high-level dashboard KPI style reports to my executives, and I want to produce those directly from Solver. So you've got a few different options there. We've got connectors to existing visualization and dashboard tools like Power BI or Tableau. So if you're using any of those tools today, you can link Solver to those tools and continue using that for any visualizations, any analysis, any KPI type scenarios that you want to build within there. You can absolutely continue to do that. If you are not using any of those tools, you can go ahead and use Solver to build some key dashboard style templates that you might want to distribute out to your C-suite or your executives. We're going to look at one quick scenario here of how and what's possible within the build directly in Solver using the Excel tool. So what you can see here is a KPI report for both financial as well as non-financial, so operational type metrics that we can see as part of this dashboard. Now, this is something that I distribute to our CEO every week. So he comes in here and he gets a copy of this in his email, and he goes ahead and starts to see what the key KPIs are for our business within Solver. So you can see here that there is some financial metrics listed out here, and here are all those operational type metrics and information that we're pulling in directly within Solver that he gets a quick view of using this scorecard just to see and gauge where we're at with our performances. Now, we can then distribute the same report to other areas of our business. So this is not just for the Office of Finance, hence that extended FP&A tool that Mark spoke about. But here is where we can go ahead and tie these to other departmental heads that want to come in and look at their views as well. So let's say I'm part of consulting and I'm the head of consulting, and I want to come in here and look at my KPIs, both operational as well as financials, and of course, how we are performing against our targets and goals. So I can come here and take a look at exactly what my targets are, what my actuals are for each team member, what those variances look like, and how I can go ahead and make adjustments to my forecast moving forward, or to my business processes internally to up some of these negative variances that I see as part of this screen in here. I did briefly talk about the fact that once you're building all of this, if you want to send anything out to your executives, we do have our publisher tool here, which will automate that send for you directly within Solver. So you don't have to export things out and manually email them. You can use our automated scheduler. You set a schedule, and then that will automatically send out a list of reports, a list of templates, whatever you decide to send out to different users outside of Solver directly into their email as an attachment. And you can pick and choose if you want that to be Excel, PDF. You can put in a little note as part of that send as well. So there's a lot of options here for you. So that gives us a quick overview of everything that Solver can help you with, just a complete analysis solution. So, we started off with the reporting, we took a look at the budgeting, the forecasting, the workflow side, and we've also looked at some dashboards and KPI style reports that you can build directly from Solver. Now, before I wrap this up and hand this back to Mark, I'm going to briefly show you, because Mark spoke a little bit about the migration mapper. For those of you who are migrating over maybe now or looking at those results, not sure when you're going to migrate over, but whenever you do decide to, I'm going to show you a quick sneak peek of what that experience would look like within Solver to preserve some of that historicals, as well as help you with that mapping process when you do move to a different ERP. So I'm going to come here into our data warehouse. This one's going to look a little bit different than what we saw earlier. But when I go under the hood here, what I can see is my regular GL data coming in, which is what we saw earlier as well. But then you also see that we are going to set up a mapping for you here. And this is going to really be that crosswalk between that legacy data that you currently have in GP, which will become your legacy data, into the new ERP that you do decide to go with. So whether that's Business Central or Intacct, you can see that mapping that we are going to help you set up in here. So what we can do here is we can leverage this mapping, create this mapping in Solver, where you can see that you've got your original accounts as well as any new accounts or new departments or new entities, really new dimensions that you're going to add as part of bringing on a new ERP. Like Mike said, that Mark had mentioned that this is an opportunity that you take to really overhaul any existing chart of accounts or any changes that you need to make into it. So really, this gives you some good visibility into your mapping, helps you with that mapping. You can make any changes and adjustments through this process if you realize that you want to fix something.
Sorry, Rose, can you just reshare your screen again? It's still on the reporting views. Sorry, it
Oh,
wasn't
no.
showing the mapper.
Oh, interesting. Let me go ahead and share now. All right, how is this looking?
Got it. Yep. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. All right, great. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and just start here from scratch. So what you can see here in front of me, that same data warehouse screen that we saw earlier, it's going to look a little different, but we've got our GL information coming in here for our existing chart of accounts from GP. And what you can see is this mapping that we're going to then create for you to move or to map really that crosswalk between your legacy GL, which is going to become GP, to your new ERP. So when I click into this mapping here, you can see your original accounts, your entities, your dimensions, your mapping that you can really preserve, as well as map everything to your new chart of accounts that you're going to set up moving forward within any different ERPs. So we spoke a little bit about the fact that you can use this as an opportunity to overhaul or make any minor changes to your existing chart of accounts as well. Now, along with this mapping, Solver also gives you and offers you a set of scripts and rules as part of this transformation of data and mapping, moving from your one ERP to another, which would become your legacy ERP. So what these scripts really are is taking us through moving the GP data from the GL module to a new legacy module where we preserve all that data in its original structure. And then it also takes that data and remaps it to the new structure. So that's exactly what these rules here are doing. So in addition to, of course, having that data coming in from your new ERP, we're going to have all of your GP data remapped to it. No manual processes involved. Once we go through this, if we see that something isn't mapped correctly, which does happen very often, we can go ahead and update that mapping. We can refresh everything we have, correct our data, and this gives you that capability to be able to map everything. So that's a little bit of behind the scenes of really how we help you when you do eventually decide to move into a new ERP. And the last thing that I'm going to mention here is, in addition to those scripts and that mapping tool that we offer you, we've also got a set of standardized report templates that we'd like to include as part of this process. So first off, we're going to have some audit and validation reports that gives you the ability to see which accounts need to be mapped, where you can ensure that all of them have been mapped. So there is some validation that you can run for all of your accounts. So this is a really good audit report, which will give you the exact data combination and mapping of really everything that you're going to be running, just to ensure that everything is mapped correctly and that you've taken into account all of what you're mapping. With that, we can also run some audit type reports. So this is a really good example where I will be able to see all of my balance sheet accounts as well as my income statement accounts, and I can confirm that they're all being mapped properly. So you can see here that I've got 0 variances, and between my two systems, everything is looking good. I can also drill down into the transactions here to be able to see, again, all of that data that is being mapped from GP into your new ERP when you do decide to make that change. So just a really good audit trail and really good visibility into everything that's going on here. You can see all of your legacy, or in this case, it would be your GP data, and how is that mapped to all of your new chart of accounts, going into some of that, the changes that you're going to make. And then finally, you are going to get a set of financial reports as part of this. So you're going to get the balance sheets and the income statements for both your GP data, which would be in these legacy ones, as well as anything new that you want to pull in from your new ERP. So you're going to get access to both of those financials that you can take a look at. So that was just a quick sneak peek for those of you who are considering migrating and moving to a new ERP. Not sure yet when you're going to do it, but maybe in the near future. So just so you know that Solver has a really meticulous process here and can absolutely help you with that, even when you are using Solver for GP today. All right, so with that, Mark, I'm going to stop sharing and I will hand this back to you. I did see some questions come through in the chat. Were all of them answered, or is there something that you want me to answer here, or are we good to go?
I think we've got everything. Oh, we've got one outstanding one.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is, can SOP orders and manufacturing data be utilized in Solver? So orders to be fulfilled, for example, MOs in process to fulfill sales orders.
We can absolutely see that detail within the Solver tool. Solver will not process those orders for you just because we're not a sales ordering and processing solution. But what we are is a solution that would help you see exactly when those orders need to be processed or when they are processed. So you can see those actuals coming through. You can see those sales orders pulling through with your invoices. So those are things that we can analyze for you in terms of data, but the actual ordering and the actual fulfillment process, that would have to be directly within your ERP.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any others in the chat? I don't see. Yeah, keep them coming though. We're just going to kind of wrap up with some key takeaways here. So as you can see, you could set up an FP&A tool in days, not weeks. Solver has very quick implementation. It's very easy to use. You're onboarded very quick because, as we mentioned, the design experience is Excel, something you're already familiar with. No more manual processes. So much room for cost and time savings and using the right tools to free up time for your deep analysis on your business. And we can help you become data driven. That's around the single source of truth. That's that data warehouse for timely insights, bringing together multiple ERPs and disparate data systems and bringing them together into that data warehouse. And then for effective planning, we integrate financial, but also the operational data that Rose showed you. And the data flexibility caters to a variety of roles and decision makers. So everyone across the organization can participate. So as we say, embrace change, new, better ways to emerge daily. I think we've got one poll question, and while that's getting ready, I want to thank you for joining today. We'll keep the Q&A open, but I want to thank you for joining. And there's got a little takeaway here. So once the share screen comes back up, you can scan that QR code. And we've got a nice white paper here called A Guide to Choosing the Best Extended Financial Planning and Analysis Solution. So here's our final poll question for today. We just want to know, are you coming to Dynamic Community Summit in San Antonio next month? So yes, I'll see you there. That's what I'll be checking. I will see you there. No, but someone from our org will be there, or no, unfortunately, will not be in attendance this year. So we'd love to know if you're going to be there. Solver has a session, so you can look for that on there. We'll also have a booth. You can come by and see Solver in action. And we'll see you also at the LBMC customer night.
Yes, we'll leave this open for just a few more seconds. LBMC will also be at Dynamic Summit, exhibiting on the show floor. We also have several speaking sessions, so hope you'll come by and visit us. Right, in the poll. Thank y'all so much for contributing. All right, looks like there's a couple more questions. Mark, do we want to answer these?
That's great. Yeah, we've got time if that's okay. Yeah.
Sure.
We've got on the GL drill down. Can you see the posted and unposted journal entries?
Yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
by default, we only pull in the posted, but we can also give you the capability to pull in anything unposted if you do want to see those transactions at the granular level as well.
And the other question was about AP track. How about the apply records for AP transactions? How is that integrated when coming over from GP into our data warehouse?
Yeah, so great question. So it would be the exact same way in terms of how we're integrating some of your AP data. Our team would have to just dive in a little bit to see if there's any specific tables or specific tags on your transactions that we need to bring in as part of the integration. And then we can pull that field in and those transactions in for you as well. So it's just a matter of how that's set up specifically within GP and how can Solver efficiently pull that in. Any other questions?
Yeah, I don't see anything else.
Don't think so. Rose, Mark, thank you both so much for joining us today and sharing wonderful information about Solver. Pleased to be partners with you all for all these many years. For everyone else, please make sure you join us for our next GP office hours in October. We'll be unleashing Dynamics GP potential, 5 tools to help. In November and December, we'll be looking at the GP module closing as well as GP year-end closing. So be sure to be watching your email for that. We will share out today's presentation and a recording if you'd like to share that. In the meantime, if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to us. We're happy to help. We'll also be sharing information about upcoming campaigns, including Power Platforms, Copilot, and digital transformation. Thank you, everybody, for joining today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.